Here we go, part 24. So the chains come out and we are now getting chained up on a prison bus. So this is all new processing to me. When you are leaned against the wall, and then leg irons are put on, your handcuffs are put on. But they do something kind of unique, and I hadn't actually experienced this before. We're not going on a federal bus, we're going on a state bus. There is actually a difference. State bus is the old school bus that you see on the movies. We're going to be chained up and put on one of those. So I'm going from the federal court, and they actually have deals with the state. Look, this may be semantics, but we're all in our normal clothes, but they line us up and they actually chain us together. So we're four chains side by side. I believe there was a guy to the left of me, then there was me. So my wrist is chained to his waist, and then we've got handcuffs in front of us, and I don't believe we had leg irons at this point. It was state. So I think we could walk, but then my wrist is chained to the next bloke's waist. And then we are going to get loaded onto this bus. Well, I don't know whether you've ever gone onto a Greyhound or even gotten onto a plane. And you know yourself, when you've got a piece of luggage, you're working your way through the aisle, how much of a pain it is if you've got luggage and say a backpack. It always gets hung up on something. Imagine having two blokes chained to you and then working your way down the aisle. So we were actually seated at the back of the bus. Here's another fun fact, is there were 4 seats and an aisle. If I'm chained to this bloke, who is chained to me, and then I'm chained to this bloke next to me, by the time we got down to the back of the bus, obviously he slid in first, he's a part of the chain gang. I jumped in next. Well, the third bloke is in the aisle. He's got nowhere to sit. So he's trying to sort of lean over, but I'm chained to his waist. And then the fourth bloke, he actually has a seat. And when one of them yelled out to the sheriff's officer down the front, "This ain't gonna fucking work," his response was, "Shut the fuck up and make it work." And that would be a lot of the responses over the next year and a half when it comes to correctional officers through the different institutions. So off we go. I had a seat, Buddy there was sort of hunched down, crouching in the aisle, and we're making our way through Los Angeles. It was pretty late in the day, but the sun was going down. I've never really seen LA, and it was very strange. It was a surreal moment moving through the streets of LA. We drove for, I would say, about an hour and a half, making our way through, and it's really weird knowing you'll never see these places again, or it was just weird. You're in a different world as you're looking out, looking at people, in the streets and everything like that, wondering where they're going, what they're doing, and you're putting yourself outside those bars on the windows on the school bus. So we drove for a good solid hour and a half, and the density of the city got less and less. We sort of went through a bit of a sparse place until we pulled up to this building. It felt like it was in the middle of nowhere. It really did. And where we pulled up to was San Bernardino County Jail. Now, I don't know whether you know much about San Bernardino. A couple fun facts about it. It's got the heaviest gang population besides Compton in LA or around that area. I believe that's where the Bloods were made their mark in California. It's where the Hells Angels started. It was where the first McDonald's was. So it's got a very colourful past, San Bernardino. And so we got off the bus. It was pretty late in the day. I would say somewhere around 7 o'clock. It was a beautiful Californian evening. We just all hopped off the bus and made our way into the jail. Now the jail is, again, it's a building over a couple stories. And it was weird. We were all put through processing. Handcuffs came off. and then you're put in holding tanks. And it's really weird. So clearly what's actually happened is they've got too many federal inmates, so they kicked us down to the state, and then the state obviously houses us until the feds have got some room. So we're now in the state, and these holding tanks downstairs are really, it felt like an out of control party, because you had people there on serious charges like mine and even worse. And then you've got people just drunk and disorderly. You've got driving without a license. And there was about 4 cells and people just running backwards and forwards. And it was almost like a college dorm. And it felt weird because we were all in normal street clothes. A lot of these guys knew each other. There was one phone in one of them which I tried to make a collect call, but I couldn't make an international collect call. So that isolation had started kicking in. In fact, I couldn't call my girlfriend, I couldn't call anybody, I couldn't call a lawyer. You were just completely isolated and completely alone at that point. But again, it was a weird feeling, and I've always sort of had that factor that even in a bad situation, let's talk to some people and find out what the go is and find out the lay of the land. And so that's what I did, and I got talking to a couple of people that are on DUI. Yeah, and again, that jailhouse lawyer thing came in where everyone says, "Oh, don't worry about it. You'll get bail when you get up to where you're going." And a couple of people asked me how serious my case was, and I said I believe I had 36 counts of smuggling, and a few of them said, "Oh, you're buggered." And then when they found out it was cabbage, the devil's lettuce, like, you're cool, everything's cool. And lots of opinions. Over the next couple of hours, I was processed in. Look, stripped off again, all your clothes put in a bag, and it would have been, say, maybe 10 o'clock that night by the time they took us upstairs. Really strange, bags and clothes. You were put into that orange jumpsuit that you see, or the two-piece in California correctional system. Up the escalator you went, into the pod. Now, we were in what's called a federal holding pod. Some guys said it was a gladiator tank, because we got to the door and it was one door. The guard opened it. There wasn't another guard inside. He just said, "Find an empty bunk and good luck." And the door cracked open. We walked in, and it was a pretty big room. There were about 180 beds in there. There would have been 12 sets of tables, the stainless steel tables at the start, and instantly we all just, I'd say there would have been 6 of us just standing there, sort of looking around. At this point, I wondered, what the fuck do I do? Stay tuned. 25 is coming up.